I want to start with a question. Have you ever walked into your trading setup after a 12-hour day at work, confident that you'll make up for lost time in the markets, only to end the session frustrated, exhausted, and questioning your own decisions? This is the reality for so many traders who are juggling a demanding 9 to 5 with active trading. It's not about lack of skill or a bad strategy. It's about the invisible weight of mental fatigue accumulating during your workday and spilling into your trading decisions. Let's define the problem clearly. Overworking during the day creates cognitive and emotional exhaustion, which directly impacts trading performance. Your brain is not a machine. It has limits. When you're running on autopilot after a long day of meetings, deadlines, or high-pressure projects, your decision-making capacity deteriorates. This isn't a minor inconvenience. It can turn a solid trading plan into a series of impulsive, emotionally driven decisions. Physiologically, extended work hours elevate cortisol levels, increase stress, and diminish prefrontal cortex function, the part of your brain responsible for rational thinking, impulse control, and risk assessment. What does this mean in trading terms? You become more likely to chase setups that don't meet your rules, double down on losing positions because your judgment is clouded, or ignore the very risk limits you spent weeks establishing. Overtrading is almost inevitable when mental fatigue hits, because your brain craves the dopamine of quick wins to counteract the stress of a grueling day. To make this tangible, let me share a personal observation from my own trading. There were nights after intense workdays when I convinced myself, just one more trade, I can still recover today's losses or catch this move. On paper, these trades often seemed logical, aligned with the chart setup or market direction, but in reality, the decisions were driven by exhaustion and frustration, not clarity or strategy. Over the course of several months, this pattern led to inconsistent results, anxiety, and a creeping sense that my trading edge was slipping, not because I lacked knowledge, but because my brain was overtaxed. Decision fatigue is another critical factor. Studies in cognitive psychology show that humans have a finite number of high-quality decisions they can make in a day. After making dozens or hundreds of work-related decisions, emails, project priorities, client calls, your mental resources are depleted. Each additional trading decision now carries a higher risk of error. The subtle, seemingly harmless impulses like adjusting a stop loss by a few pips, increasing position size, or taking an extra trade after a small loss accumulate and become costly over time. Overtrading caused by overwork isn't limited to losses. It also manifests as chasing setups. You see a trade that technically meets your entry criteria, but your judgment is skewed by fatigue and a desire to catch up on time or profit. You ignore contextual signals that would normally stop you from entering. You feel restless, impatient, and desperate for action, creating a dangerous environment where probability takes a back seat to impulse. Let's break down why this happens. Overworking triggers a combination of emotional and cognitive responses. Frustration and irritability. After hours of high-stakes work, your tolerance for minor setbacks diminishes. A small loss in trading feels magnified. Desire to compensate. You equate long workdays with lost opportunities in the market. This creates a compulsion to trade extra to make up for perceived lost profits. Impaired pattern recognition. Fatigue dulls your ability to detect subtle signals in price action, volume, or market structure. What normally would be a clean setup can appear as a maybe trade, leading to hesitation or ill-timed entries. Cognitively, there's a trap many traders fall into, believing that because you've worked hard all day, you're allowed to trade more aggressively. The rational mind knows the rules, but the fatigued mind says, I deserve to take this trade. I've earned it. This disconnect between knowledge and behavior is a hallmark of overtrading fueled by overwork. To identify how overwork specifically affects your trading, the first step is to track your energy and focus alongside your trade performance. Note the days when you worked long hours, the projects that were most mentally draining, and correlate them with your trading results that evening. You'll often see a clear pattern. Trades taken after heavy workdays tend to be impulsive, emotionally charged, and riskier than planned. Physiological factors compound the problem. Mental fatigue increases cortisol and adrenaline, which amplify emotional responses. Your risk perception narrows, making losses feel more painful and wins feel fleetingly rewarding. This combination drives overtrading in the pursuit of instant gratification, creating a feedback loop where the market exploits your exhaustion and your account balance reflects the consequences. The key insight here is that trading is not just a technical skill, it is a mental and physical performance skill. Just as athletes schedule training around peak energy and recovery, traders must respect their cognitive limits. Understanding how your workday depletes your mental resources is the first step toward creating a trading environment where probability, discipline, and focus can actually function. Recognizing that the problem exists is not enough. You need to map out the specific ways overworking affects your decisions. Ask yourself, do I enter more trades after a long day? Do I size positions differently than I would when rested? Am I holding losers longer because my judgment is impaired? These are measurable patterns, and documenting them lays the foundation for creating systems to prevent overtrading. To prevent overtrading after a long day, the first step is understanding the triggers that make it happen. These triggers fall into three main categories: situational, emotional, and cognitive. Situational triggers are external pressures that occur during your workday. Emotional triggers are the feelings that follow, and cognitive traps are the faulty beliefs your mind convinces you to act on. By identifying these triggers in your own trading, you gain the ability to interrupt the automatic patterns that lead to impulsive trades. Situational triggers are often the most obvious, yet they are frequently underestimated. Long work hours are the primary culprit. If you spend 10 to 12 hours in a high-stress environment, your brain and body are already depleted before you even sit down at your trading station. Projects that require intense focus, client presentations, or deadlines that push you into overtime create mental fatigue that is cumulative. Family obligations, household responsibilities, or personal stressors on top of work can further strain your mental energy. Even the environment in which you trade matters, as distractions, noise, or inadequate lighting can subtly increase fatigue and reduce concentration. Emotional triggers are the feelings that push you toward impulsive trading decisions. After a long day, it is normal to feel frustration, irritability, or even anger. A small loss in trading can feel magnified, and your tolerance for waiting or watching the market can diminish. The desire to make up for perceived lost opportunities in both work and trading is a powerful motivator, but it often leads to chasing trades that do not meet your plan. Fatigue amplifies these emotions, making them harder to recognize and control. This is why many traders enter trades they would normally avoid if they were alert and rested, simply because the immediate reward feels like relief from the day's stress. Cognitive traps are the thought patterns that trick you into overtrading. Your brain tries to rationalize actions that are driven by fatigue or emotion. Thoughts like, I can focus after this long day, I'll just take one more trade to recover, or I deserve to make back what I lost today, seem logical in the moment, but they are often the exact opposite of disciplined trading. Cognitive traps distort risk perception, increase tolerance for potential losses, and reduce your adherence to stop-loss rules. They convince you that the urgency of the moment outweighs your pre-established trading plan. Recognizing these mental patterns is critical because they are often invisible until you examine your trading journal alongside your energy and emotional state. Keeping a trading journal is an essential tool for identifying these triggers. On days when work is particularly demanding, note how your mental and physical energy levels are affected. Record not only the trades you take, but also the thought processes leading to each decision. Pay attention to impulses, rationalizations, and moments when you ignore your rules. This audit will reveal patterns that are otherwise difficult to see, such as a tendency to increase position size after a stressful workday or to hold trades longer than intended. Another situational factor is the alignment of your work schedule with market hours. Traders who are active in the evening markets after a full workday are at a disadvantage because their decision-making capacity is already reduced. Even if your strategy is mechanical and tested, human oversight is necessary to manage risk, set alerts, and execute trades effectively. Fatigue compromises this oversight. By identifying when and why these situational triggers occur, you can plan trading sessions around periods of peak focus. Emotional triggers can be mitigated by recognizing the signals of stress before they impact your decisions. For example, irritability, restlessness, or impatience are all warning signs that your trading decisions may be compromised. Simple techniques such as pausing before placing a trade, taking a short walk, or performing a few minutes of deep breathing can restore clarity. Emotional self-awareness is a skill that requires practice, but once developed, it dramatically reduces the likelihood of impulsive, revenge-driven trades after a long day. Cognitive traps can also be prevented with predefined rules and reminders. For example, establishing a maximum number of trades per session, setting strict stop-loss and take-profit levels, and using checklists before every trade can prevent your fatigued mind from overriding your strategy. By documenting these traps in your journal and reviewing them regularly, you train yourself to recognize the patterns before they lead to costly mistakes. Over time, your awareness of these mental shortcuts reduces impulsive behavior and strengthens discipline. Patterns often emerge when you analyze several weeks of trading data alongside work stress and fatigue. You may notice that after particularly demanding workdays, you enter trades outside of your strategy, take higher risks, or increase frequency of trading in an attempt to compensate. These correlations provide clear evidence of triggers at work and illustrate why overtrading is not a matter of skill, but a matter of managing energy, emotion, and cognition effectively. Identifying these triggers is only effective if combined with actionable strategies. Once situational, emotional, and cognitive triggers are recognized, you can implement structural changes such as scheduling trading sessions during high-focus windows, limiting exposure after work, and employing mindfulness practices to reset your mental state. Journaling and analysis allow you to continuously refine your understanding of how your workday affects trading behavior, making you proactive rather than reactive in your decision-making. Finally, it is important to remember that these triggers are interconnected. A long workday increases emotional stress, which amplifies cognitive distortions, which in turn leads to overtrading. Addressing one aspect in isolation will help, but understanding the full system is what enables lasting behavioral change. Mapping these triggers, documenting their impact on your trades, and creating deliberate countermeasures is the foundation for developing a sustainable trading practice that is resilient to fatigue and stress. Establishing long-term behavioral adjustments is about creating sustainable trading habits that integrate with your day-to-day life and energy patterns. The goal is not just to stop overtrading for a week or two, but to embed structures and routines that make disciplined trading automatic. This begins with understanding the connection between lifestyle, cognitive performance, and market execution. Consistency in trading stems from consistency in energy management, emotional regulation, and procedural adherence. First, consider work-life trade balance. Long-term behavioral adjustments require a realistic assessment of your capacity for trading given professional and personal obligations. Start by mapping out your daily schedule, including work hours, family responsibilities, and personal care routines. Identify windows where your focus is naturally higher and align trading activities to these periods. Recognize that trading late at night after a demanding day will almost always increase the likelihood of impulsive trades. Shifting trading sessions to times when mental clarity is higher directly reduces errors caused by fatigue. Setting rules for maximum trades per session based on energy levels is another critical adjustment. Energy management is not about arbitrarily limiting trades, but about creating a structure that protects decision-making quality. Define thresholds based on mental alertness, emotional stability, and market conditions. For example, a rule might be no more than 5 trades when feeling mentally drained or avoiding trading during periods of heightened emotional stress. These thresholds act as guardrails, preventing overtrading while reinforcing disciplined behavior. Integrating continuous monitoring and self-feedback into long-term adjustments is essential. Maintain a trading journal that records not just trades and results, but also energy levels, emotional state, and situational context. Over time, patterns emerge linking specific triggers to overtrading tendencies. This allows for proactive adjustments such as rescheduling trading sessions, altering position sizes, or implementing additional restorative activities. Self-monitoring transforms subjective experiences into actionable data, creating a feedback loop that strengthens discipline. Behavioral adjustments also include reinforcing procedural habits. Pre-trade checklists, risk management protocols, and environmental controls should become second nature. Consistently using these systems reduces the reliance on willpower, which is finite and often depleted after a long day. The repeated practice of following structured procedures trains the brain to default to disciplined execution, even under stress. Over time, these habits become automatic, creating a resilient trading framework. Incorporating mental and physical health routines into long-term adjustments is critical for sustainable performance. Regular sleep, balanced nutrition, and physical activity directly impact cognitive function, emotional regulation, and stress resilience. Scheduling sleep as a priority rather than an afterthought ensures decision-making clarity. Exercise, even in short sessions, improves alertness and reduces the buildup of fatigue. Nutrition that supports stable energy levels minimizes emotional reactivity and impulsive trading behavior. These lifestyle adjustments are not auxiliary. They are core components of consistent, professional trading practice. Another long-term behavioral adjustment involves defining and protecting downtime. Fatigue accumulates not just from work, but from cognitive overexertion. Allocating periods where trading is intentionally avoided allows the brain to recover and resets your capacity for focused decision-making. This includes setting rules for trading frequency, such as trading only on specific days of the week or limiting sessions to particular hours. Protecting these boundaries reinforces energy management and prevents the slippery slope of trading out of exhaustion. Behavioral adjustments should also integrate emotional resilience strategies. Cognitive behavioral techniques, mindfulness exercises, and reflective journaling strengthen your ability to recognize and interrupt impulsive trading patterns. Developing awareness of emotional triggers allows you to respond rationally rather than reactively. For instance, if frustration from a work-related setback is detected, the system might dictate a pause or a walk before initiating trades. Over time, these strategies enhance self-regulation and improve consistency under stress. Leveraging accountability mechanisms is another vital long-term strategy. Accountability partners, mentors, or trading communities provide external checks that reinforce adherence to trading rules. Sharing trade plans, reviewing session outcomes, and discussing behavioral patterns with a trusted partner creates an external layer of discipline. This reduces the risk of self-deception and strengthens the commitment to long-term procedural habits. Continuous education is also a component of long-term adjustments. Staying informed about market dynamics, trading psychology, and risk management techniques enhances confidence and reduces impulsive decision-making. Education should be integrated with practical experience, ensuring that theoretical knowledge translates into actionable strategies. Combining learning with reflection on past trades fosters a growth mindset and promotes adaptive behavioral adjustments over time. Finally, long-term adjustments involve cultivating patience and realistic expectations. Recognize that consistency and profitability are the result of accumulated disciplined decisions rather than individual trade outcomes. Avoid the cognitive trap of short-term performance evaluation, which often leads to overtrading to compensate for perceived losses or missed opportunities. Emphasize process-oriented metrics such as adherence to pre-trade checklists, risk management rules, and scheduled trading sessions. This shift in focus reinforces sustainable behavior and prevents reactive, emotion-driven trading. By embedding these behavioral adjustments into daily routines, traders create an ecosystem that supports disciplined execution regardless of external stressors. Scheduling trades to align with cognitive energy. Enforcing procedural habits. Integrating physical and mental health routines, establishing downtime boundaries, leveraging accountability mechanisms, and cultivating patience collectively build resilience against the compounding effects of fatigue and emotional reactivity. Over time, these adjustments solidify into a consistent, professional trading practice that protects capital, maximizes focus, and sustains long-term profitability.